shortest bio note given to us. So, Carol Geraldine C. Pablo, or Assistant Professor Carol Geraldine C. Pablo, is an Associate Researcher of the Social Health Studies Research Interest Group. She was the former lead of the Social Health Unit before I took over. And she is a certified medication adherence specialist, what a mouthful, and an advisor of undergraduate researchers in social pharmacy practices. Her research interests are on social health, community-based pharmaceutical behaviors, and health indigenous practices. She released 2 articles recently to the Journal of Social Health, and one is called Botika sa Kalikasan, and the other one is on dispensing drugs. Dispensing medication. There. Please help me in welcoming Ma'am Carol Pablo.
Good afternoon. So I'm going to talk about indigenous health, but I'll be centering on a certain topic because indigenous health is very large. Now, for my plate, which is very special to us, because 2 years ago, our new director then decided to give us a template. Every start of the school year, we have what we call research proposal presentation. And ang maganda dito sa template na to, these are some questions that can help us when we're writing our paper. Okay, so you'll see some of the questions, although some I remove because it's not part of the discussion. So indigenous health. So when we say indigenous, we always think of tribes, tribo, okay? So actually, originating or occurring naturally in a particular place. A native is also indigenous. I'll give you one very good example. Perhaps one of them is here. I want to do an ethnomedicinal study in Isla Verde. So you know where Isla Verde is? That's between Mindoro and the Batangas area. There's this coastal community. And sometimes may ibang parts walang ilaw, meron iba. And it's surrounded by a very beautiful and verdant place. So I want to do an ethnomedicinal studies indigenous in the place because native sila. According to the Tama Act of 1997, I'll be discussing that later, if you are a resident or your family is a resident of an area for 20 or 30 years, you are considered to be indigenous in that place. So ang definition ng indigenous is that doesn't have to be a tribe. If you want it to be a tribe, the correct title should be not indigenous practice, but aboriginal practice or aboriginal health. However, dito sa Pilipinas, unfortunately, when you say indigenous, we always think that it is a tribe or a band. Okay? So before we start, I want to tell a disclaimer, or I just want to tell you why I wanted to do this, because I'm an Igorota, and I wanted to do a dissertation on Igorots, because the first study on indigenous health was done in 1904 on Igorots. And sabi ko, I would like to do that, but unfortunately, it's not aligned with my philosophy, my dissertation philosophy.
Wait, ano na? Oh, wait, igorota ka? Hindi ka natakot, naman, di mo alam.
I feel like a bad friend now.
That's how I always introduce myself with, because it's very important if you're presenting a paper, if you join an indigenous conference, one of the very first things they will ask you is your indigenuity. If you are not indigenous, how can you present a paper on indigenous study? So sabi ko, ang ultimate dream ko talaga is go back. But Igorot has a large, even Aitas or those in the cold areas are considered to be Igorots. But then you have to have a definition of what an Igorot is.
So, curious ako habang ginagawa to. Dahil sa party ko, tagal natin magkaibigan, ngayon ko lang nalalaman to. Anong group mo?
Na Igorot. Igorot ako sa Mountain Province sa Cordillera region.
Like Kankanay, mga
Igorot talaga. Kasi may Kamkanay, merong 5 yan eh. So ako kasi talagang Igorot, Bontok, Igorot ako. Kami yung talagang hardcore Igorot talaga. So Kankanay, yung ginawa ko, I was crossing, ito pang very happy ako because my tribal group or band that I study, who are the Iwaks of Nueva Vizcaya, if you're near Nueva Vizcaya, are the forefathers of Igorots. So nung nalaman ko, parang sabi ko, nakaangkla na ako kasi kinapaano sa mga fellow Igorots ko. So yun ang definition ng ano. So if you want to really study on indigenous for tribes, that is called to be Aboriginal Studies. So dito sa Pilipinas, kasi we do not normally acknowledge our ingenuity. But I want to tell you that there are different groups of indigenous there. So indigenous and ethno-linguistic. So kung Ilocano ka, by nature Ilocano ka, then that is your indigeneity. So yun lang na. Kung Tagalog ka, masyado kasing nalulusaw ang Katagalugan eh. Okay, ang mga talagang mga mabibigat sa Katagalugan, mga Bulacan, yan, sila yon. Pero you have to know your indigeneity. That's one of the requirements when you go to native conferences. In fact, they even encourage us to bring our partners. Okay, so when you do indigenous study, which will be at the last part, it would be nice if part of your research team is also a member of the community. So while we're doing that, hinintay natin to. Di ba, nag-discuss kahapon ethnography that we need an artifact. So, I'll show it first. Nasa dulo to dapat habang hinintay natin. One of the artifacts that we collect for ethno-medicinal study. So, ethno-medicinal, ethnic medicine. So, ito yung mga galing sa kalikasan, yung mga butika sa kalikasan. So, you can collect plants, animal or animal parts or minerals like mga bato or ano. So, isa sa kinokollect ako are plants. So, we have a herbarium. Now, you know, for me to really work on this, it took me time because iba pala yung mag-collect na isang halaman sa bulk na halaman. And there are several conditions. And it took us months to really learn how to do this. And we have to really keep this very well kasi kinakain sila ng silverfish. Alam mo yung silverfish. So, hindi natin namin ito. We have a herbarium. Our herbarium is here. It's one of the universities with acknowledge of herbarium. And we have more than 18,000 plants already. So, most of my plants that I've collected in my studies are already deposited there. And we have a plant specimen number, and that is acknowledged in the entire research world. So, ito yung isa sa mga artifacts. Sinokolekta namin for ethnography. Okay, so ito yon. Then last November, I attended a conference. So, sino na po yung nag-indigenous study dito? Maliban sa mga ating mga taga-Batanes. Si Ma'am Apari. Si Ma'am, I want to invite you because New Zealand is the hotbed of indigenous conferences. So, mataas sila sa Maori nila. I went there. And you know, sa New Zealand, the New Zealand government is going to pay for the air and the water to the Maori. Kasi gano'n sila ka-indebted at thankful sa kanilang Aborigine. So, bibigyan kita ng copy ng invitation. Now, this is an indigenous conference.
Only for one person.
Kasi nag-iisa lang siya, sorry ha. Isa lang yung nakuha ko, but I can give you tomorrow more. Those are postcards naman. And this is, we have journals where we can publish. Kung kahapon may alter world tayo, ito naman meron kaming alternative. It's a sage published journal sa New Zealand dito. So, if you want to publish your paper, let me give you the number of the associate editor so I can help you. Okay, so let me continue sa indigenous. Based on the definition, anybody who's staying in according to Tama Act, 20 to 30 years are considered native and indigenous already. So, according to the WHO definition, it can have strong links to territories and surrounding natural resources. So again, as long as you're native, now have distinct social and economic or political system or distinct language, culture, and belief. The second definition is more now on aborigines or natives, or as Ma'am will call them as bands. Okay, so in same regions, there may be a preference to use other terms as tribes, people, nations, aboriginal, ethnic groups. So, ito na yung tawag natin sa kanila. Okay? Okay, so what is the rationale of studying and bakit indigenous? Okay? So let me go there. So traditional knowledge, important part of healthcare, because I'm more into health, because I'm a pharmacist. But then again, of course, you can study like languages and other things. I have some, these are old, they gave this to us, pero the nice thing is, you see methods here, and it's not only Maoris, and this is a sage, I can bring more para makita nyo kung paano. And these are not on health. Ilan lang yung, kaya ako ito dala kasi ito lang yung my health. Pero if I can bring the other journals, you'll be surprised what other things do they publish when it comes to Aboriginal studies. So, important, utilization strengthen the cultural integrity and diversity. And, of course, the preservation of some customs. Why is this important? Because in the Philippines, we have 169 living ethno-linguistics. 140 of them are indigenous in nature. So, pag tinignan natin, sino yung pinakamalaki? So, we call them the Negritos, and these are your Aita. So, we have Aita, Ita, Agta. And because of that, most of my studies are really on Aitas. So, I have Aitas in Hermosa Bataan, I have Aitas in Tarlac, I have Agtas in Camarines Sur, and hopefully someday I can work with the Agtas in Cagayan. So, I'm courting moms to work with me. Okay, so my specialization is more on ethnopharmacy. This has been my masteral topic. So because I want to know the traditional medicines and healing practices. So we go for natural remedies. So these can be medicinal plants, your animal parts, mineral stones, even mga ibang parts ng ano. Basta you can see it in the environment. In Iraq, we have this very important white sand na ginagamit nila para sa dandruff. So, ginawa namin, nag-uwi kami, pinagamit sa akin ng mga bata kasi may dandruff ako. Sabi niya, so what happened, ma'am? Ayoko na siyang gamitin. Bakit? Nagkalat lang siya sa CR ko. Pero sabi ko na, may gamot ba? Hindi ko alam kasi one time ko lang. But sa nila, it doesn't matter kasi sa river sila naliligo. So they scoop it up and they just wash it and they told me it's very effective. Okay? So another part of my study, my second part of my studies are on healing. Tribal healers because they can communicate with spirits, perform ceremonies or rituals, perform offerings, prayers or incantation, and mostly use polyherbals or many plants or a combination of plant and animal in healing practices. In my study in Nueva Vizcaya, I did the ethnomedicinal study with of the plants and the animal parts and the minerals, and I did that was with my students. Pero on my own, I did a healing study, and that's where I met mambunongs. They are called mambunongs. Sa security, natawag natin silang barang. Diba? Dito sa Manila, natawag natin sa kanila. Hindi naman. Hindi kulam. Yung mga gagamot. Ang
Albularyo.
They have different names. They have hierarchies. I wish I can discuss kasi makikita nyo yung ang tingin kasi nila sa mabunong is part of their deity system. So para sila mga galing sa mga perfect man, kaya lang we don't have enough time. So it's a very beautiful study. And why do we study indigenous? Why do we do indigenous study? Because of the dwindling practice of the tradition. So there is modernization. Pag pumunta ka sa mga tribal lands, ito na because I'm into health, nagtatayo na sila ng mga healthcare center, may birthing clinic. Yun ang very nakikita mo kasi you're in maternal mom. May birthing clinic sila. Ang kwento kasi, meron na yung bagong RA or memorandum na kailangan pagka-member ka ng isang indigenous group, you have to give birth in a birthing clinic or a hospital. Otherwise, if you do it in the traditional way, magiging stainless yung bata. Hindi siya pwedeng i-register. Hindi siya bibigyan ng birth certificate. So, para matuloy talaga to, nagtatayo sila ng mga birthing clinic sa mga indigenous areas. And ito yung kine-question kasi meron pa sa kanilang mga pagano, and they would rather give birth talaga in the traditional sense. So ito yung mga parang nilalabanan namin ng isang fellow na dapat ako question ko. Kasi this is part of modernization. Nawawala yung part ng culture nila. Okay? So acculturation, when you say acculturation, somebody will go in, i-introduce siya. Like, bakit ka magdadala ng McDonald's pagpakain? Diba? Dapat you only bring food na dapat within the community rin. Assimilation, they go out and they try to take our modernity. So nawawala yung kanilang practice. So that's why we need to document really. So there is a call that the traditional knowledge should be documented. In fact, in the NURA of 2017 to 2022, in the PNHRS, okay, nag-identify sila ng 6 research priority. I'm sure you're aware of this. And in one research priority, nandito yan, indigenous people, that we need to document them. So if you go for a research on indigenous health or any indigenous study, you can be supported by PCHRD. You can apply for a grant and you just have to look for the right research priority area. So that's the beauty of studying. So it's in the 2017 to 2022 NURA. Also in the TAMA Act, which is the, kita natin dyan, the Traditional and Alternative Healthcare or TAMA Act, the Traditional Alternative and Medical Act, they created an office which is PITAC, and PITAC, which is an office, gives research grant services. So you can get grants. Okay, they have six research cluster, and one of them is in activity cluster 1. And this is more on indigenous studies. So again, if you want to, why is it important to have a grant? I'll tell you later. Kasi ako hindi binigyan ng grant 2 taon na. Alam ni Ma'am Karinsan kung gaano sobrang bukas po ang aking bulsa. Okay? So these are the other research cluster of PITAC, which is the office created by TAMA. So you just go, email them, somebody will answer you immediately, they'll give you a proposal, send your proposal. Especially, Cagayan is now open for studies. That I'm very, very sure because we checked that. Okay, so what are the contexts of study? So what do you know about your topic, science literature, what are the issues? So I've given you some of the issues. Okay, now why do we do this? Because it is being forgotten. The traditional customs and practices are slowly being forgotten or extinct. Okay, there is the deterioration of information by the younger generation. What else? There is lack of recognition. They don't want to use it anymore. Okay, and there is a threat to the biodiversity. One of the people who are very interested in my studies are not from this group but from the other research center. This is the Research Center for Natural and Applied Sciences. Kasi doon nila nakikita, meron pala mga halaman na ganito. In fact, when I was asking a botanist to identify some of my plants, there was a particular plant that I was so interested to be identified because another botanist cannot identify. Sabi niya, this, ito yung kanyang characteristic. So we started researching, and he cannot identify the entire the botanical genera of the plant, only to realize na hindi siya masyadong kilala sa Pilipinas. But when we were studying it, it is culturally important to the tribe. It is very useful and everything. So sabi niya, dapat yung mga ganito, yan ang inaaral natin. Kasi, ibig sabihin, hindi pa naaaral yung halaman, and it's very, very effective. That's why they're very interested in this kind of studies. And of course, biodiversity. One of the people who are very interested in this study are from DNR. When I presented this paper sa community, I was quite surprised DNR. Pagka sa research mo, sabihin mo para kung ano yung mga halaman na yan, and if they're hard to find, we can continue propagating them because they're culturally important to the community. So, research objective. These are some of the research objectives I created for my study. Okay, and this one. Sorry, but those are. So what are the significance? So here you will discuss the merit of your study, and there's a proposal built on previous study. So this was my paper last year. Okay, the traditional medicine and healing practices of the Iwak tribe of Barangay Buyasias, Kayapan, Vizcaya. So I'll show you, the reason why I showed you this, because I wanted to show you my methodology. So I'm more on ethnography, so in the interview and FGDs, very different because in the interview it's more descriptive. So papa-list mo kung ano yung mga sakit, halaman, sakit, paano niya piniprepare, paano niya iniinom, gano'ng kadalas na inumin. Sometimes, ang problema sa mga ganitong study, they only remember kung ano yung ginamit nila recently. So we cannot do what we call free listing method. Yung free listing, ikaw lang magsabi. So ginawa namin, nag-print kami ng isang picture ng tao, tapos meron yung mga identified na mga tribal sickness according to research. So tinitingnan namin from ulo paikot yung pababa. And they remember more. Kasi yun nga, di ba sabi nga ni Ma'am, ethnography is a slice of the present. So pag hindi nila ginagamit masyado, it depends on the weather, the environment. Kaya, since we want to know, we have to do that type. Then we do the FGDs for the healing. Our target population is, of course, the Iwak tribe. Now, what will be the exclusion criteria? Na ang nakakatuwa lang dito sa Iwak, na ki-intermarry sila ng Kalanguya. Kasi magkakatabi yung land nila. Ngayon, ang Iwak is one of, there are 12 original, ano tawag dito? Indigenous population sa region na to. Siya yung pinakamaliit at lumiliit yung kanyang kasi nag-intermarry siya. Yung mga dominant tribe, kinukuha nila itong mga Iwak. So lumiliit ang tribe. Nawawala na yung kanilang customs and practices. Kasi sabi na nga nila sa akin, habang tuluyang mawawala. And I had a hard time looking for literature because they told me themselves that they only have 3 literature na nakahawak. Sabi nila, pang-4 ka na. Kaya sabi nila, pakiusap nila, siguraduhin mo, Carol, na mapapublish mo. Pero they have one also request, when I have it published sa journal, I have to translate it back to Iwak. So I can give them a copy. And that's really a tall order for me kasi ang hirap talaga ng language. And I need the teachers in the community. Then, sample size, they only have 70 families in the middle land and the upland. So, both of them are biparters. Respondents and purposive sampling, they were chosen by the tribal council. Kasi normally yung tribal elders, tribal leaders, and yung mga older members naman. So, data gathering, semi-structured open-ended questionnaire, data analysis. So, it's qualitative and quantitative in a way. Maganda kasi ito, use an ethnobotanical index. There is a formula. But when we were using the formula, it took us more time to understand the formula than really computing it. Kasi ang hirap ng mga wordings. So, we have to open more than like 20 journals to really understand how to use the formula. So why do we have to use the formula? Because we wanted to know what are the culturally significant lands, what are the most versatile and the most used land. And the definition of each are quite different. And that's based on the formula used. And they have different meanings also. Then we also categorize them according to the type of diseases. So that you will know, ano ba yung mga disease na common sa community. So these are very important and we have to report it back to the group. And then, we did literature citation. Ang funny dito sa study na to, ang literature study, extensive literature gagawin mo sa dulo. Because now you will compare the type of plus na ginagamit nila kung ginagamit nila ibang tribes. And then pag walang nagpareho, ano ibig sabihin nun? Eureka moment yun. Hindi kilala tong halaman na. These are the plus that you really have to study. That's why biologists, pharmacologists, chemists are very interested in this type of study. But then, of course, you have to protect the interest of the group. Kasi baka alam na nakawin. Like, we can talk about it later. And then, we do thematic analysis of the qualitative data of healing practices. So, what are the expected output? Okay, what are the specific output? The output, I just wanted to I wanted to do the ethnomedicinal study and the healing practices. But after presenting this back to the community, they have one request. They wanted a book. Sila mismo. At ang nag-request ng book, okay, very ironic, were the tribal elders. Sabi nila, nakakalimutan na ng mga bata namin ito. tulungan nyo kaming gumawa ng libro para ito ang may iwan namin matigas na pamana para sa kanila. Okay? So, my director wanted me to do a monograph. Sabi ko, ma'am, ikaw-compile ko lang. Sabi niya, no, you have to have it published. Sabi ko, ma'am, pera yun. Sabi niya, magkano yan? So, di pa po kami nagpakwentahan ng aking director. Pagka nagkakwentahan po kami. So, I'm going to produce a monograph. It will be for them, and of course, it will be for them. Kasi dapat partner mo. Okay, so budget allocation. When I did the budget, I was very, parang pa ako 44,000. Binibigay lang po sa amin 30. At the end of the day, I start computing because when we computed, we were on 125,000 already. And we haven't computed the other thing. Sabi ko sa RA ko, stop computing, wala rin mangyayari dyan. Only to realize we spent a lot of it. Why a big amount? I'll tell you why later. So, this is what we normally will go through. So, saan kami nagkaroon ng problema? Dito po kami nagkaroon ng problema. Yeah, it costs more than 70,000 pesos. This thing. And made us wait for 8 months. My advice, he waited for 1 year just para malabas lang yung kanya IKSP. Okay, so what are the ethical requirements? For me, the biggest challenge of any indigenous research, if you talk to any indigenous researcher, would be the ethical requirements because of the bureaucracy. Okay, let me walk you through the process so that you will not have the same difficulty. And if you have difficulty, you can walk around it. Okay, so there's, of course, we have the PREP, the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, because it's a human research. You have to pass a proposal. But in June 2017, they released a memorandum. Sabi nila, if you want to do a study on indigenous people who are considered to be a vulnerable group, this is a new memo. You need to have a clearance first. And if you have a clearance, that's the only time we can give you a approved proposal. And kung wala kang approved proposal, di ka papayagan lumabas to the people. So you always have to start with your NCIP, the National Commission of Indigenous. It's better to present in front of you, or times 5 of you, than present in front of an tribal community, especially in front of tribal elders that doesn't, wala sila talagang expression sa mukha. Talagang wala. Tapos alam mo na, they will not approve. So sabi sa akin, tinulungan ako ng attorney, pag umiti na yan, go na tayo. Pag di yan umingiti, huwag ka titigil. Yun lang yung comment niya. Alam mo yung, ang daming beses ko na po nag-present, pero sobra talaga yung kaba ko doon. Like ang mga tanong nila, anong makukuha namin sa gagawin ng pag-aaral? Anong makukuha namin dyan? Sabi ko po, dito po tayo ngayon, ang ganda po ng ng basketball place na po. Ang ganda po nito. Magkano kaya ang dinastos ni Mayor dito? Meron po itong halaga. Pero ito pong ginagawa natin, na magiging parte rin ng inyong custom and tradition po. At babalik ko po sa inyo. Ay walang katumbas na pera. Kasi para sa kanila, bigyan mo ng halaga to sa akin. And you have to make them realize that what you're doing is also priceless. Sabi ko, ito po ang parte ng kultura nyo. Ang trabaho ko lang po dito isulat. Pero sa inyo po ito, hindi ko po ito pwedeng arilin. Dahil ang gagawin ko lang po magdo-document po. Pero kung ano po lalabas dito, ay parte po ng pagiging iwak nyo. And you have to really send a message to them because that's the most important. After that, nung umiti na sila, pinatay po nila yung mga baboy sa harap namin. And I have to tell myself that bawal kung na ng picture kasi baka maano namin. And we have to dance around, we have to dance around, because it's part of the traditions. Before naman po sa Mindanao, naman kami pinagpatay ako ng manok. Kasi part din sa offerings nila. Okay? Then we have Loa signing. So when they said, yes, you're ready, we started dancing. Then they started roasting the pig, walang asin yun, cut it. Then we started eating with the tribal elders, mind you. Bawal po yun. But because we were special guests, we were allowed to sit in the same seat with So we did a MOA signing. Kumarma po dyan lahat ng tribal leaders at saka mga elders. And then, afterwards, bumalik ulit ako sa Nueva Vizcaya. This time, we signed a MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, with NCIP, some of the tribal members, and me, that they are now allowing me to do the study. So, mga 4 na beses po akong bumalik ng Nueva Vizcaya. And then, we did the study. After po ng study, you have to present again the result, the entire result to them. And if they have no questions, that's the only time NCIP will send me the certificate of precondition. Ano po to? Itong papel na to, gold-plated po ito. Dahil mahirap po nakakapabili. Gold-plated po yan. Mas mahal po yan kaysa sa room namin doon. Kasi ganun po siya, kahirap kunin. It has a number underneath. You need that number if you want to publish your paper. Not only the ethics number, but also the NCIP number. So, ito na yung copy na dala nila. They're so nice. They have it compiled, sent to me. So, okay naman po yun. Okay, so what are the challenges? So, resident, you need to have ethical requirement, make sure. Remember, it's a vulnerable population, so you need to have your ethical requirements. Now, what are the practical tips? Be a multidisciplinary. I'm a pharmacist. You need the botany, so collaborate. It's better to collaborate. It's so hard to identify. So collaborate, preserves your artifact properly. So we have this in the herbarium. And of course, we have pictures also. This is placed in a preserved condition at the herbarium. And then, work with an indigenous researcher. The best way to go around NCIP is make sure that you have a member in the team na indigenous. Why? Because they will liaise with NCIP, they will liaise with the other government. Make them a member of your team. Make them accountable. Make them responsible. Help them to interpret or translate. Because it's really very, very important. So, they will have a very special part in the team. And of course, you work around your ethics requirement. It took us 8 months to have our ethics come out. We have to force some official in the municipality to work to help us so that it can be released. Ganun po kahirap itong paper na to. And get a grant. You know po, why? Because it really pays to have a grant because the IKSPF and the IC is very, very expensive. So, and then last but not least, be proud of your ingenuity. Because if they know that you're indigenous, you care for your ingenuity, it's easier to work with them. Okay. So, dates to remember, every October, we have that. It's a very good time to present your paper. Then, also August 9 is the International Day of the World Indigenous Day. And then, there are several international conferences. The best conferences to join are really in Australia and New Zealand because they have the hotspot, they have the best number of indigenous, and they really do Maori studies and other studies. So, that ends my paper. Sorry pa hindi ko ma-present na mag-video.
We have questions. I'm so amazed with our speakers. Our speakers are so in time for their talks. Our next speaker is actually on the other side already. But I think we have about 10 minutes to spare for your questions for Ma'am Carol. You know, one thing that's so interesting about my engagement with Ma'am Carol is that it's so hard to fight for her stay in this unit because, you know, in institutions wherein you have allied health sciences like this, they want to take their allied health people with them in their own research centers. But we keep on arguing that Ma'am Carol and Jay, the speaker for tomorrow, belong in the social health because they're working on social health concerns. Karen this morning we're also pirating her to be with us, but her unit is also asking her to stay with them because, you know, they are productive researchers. So there you go. But I think it's really high time for us to muddle our borders of the discipline because as Sir June has mentioned this morning, we can only resolve health inequalities by doing a multiple disciplinary approach on it, right? Comprehensive analysis, right? So, do you have questions about pharmacy? Oh, you have? Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all about the how did you able to get access to the Iwak tribe?
My student.
Your student.
Yeah, my student is they have a parang canteen, and one of the producers were selling them some of their produce are iwaks.
Okay.
So they were looking for a topic. So sabi ko, raise ko lang idea sa klase ko, if anybody can kuha sa iwak na hindi ba masyadong study, we can do that. So when he told me, so I started researching on iwaks, wala talaga. Kasi ang Nueva Vizcaya ang hotbed ng indigenous groups. And sa 9 na yun, 4 ang talagang kilala ang Kalamuya, then one of these Iwak. Iwak is the smallest, which is very sad kasi ito yung mga natitirang original na indigenous groups. Like pag igurot ka, ang dami. Pag sinabi mong Aita, ang dami mo. Pero pag sinabi mong Iwak, doon na sa may bandang Cordillera. And it's really sabi nga tao, hindi ko sinabi ito sa kanila, pero sila nagsabi, we are a dying kasi kumukonti na kumukonti talaga. 1985, 7,000 sila, ngayon 2,000 na. That's really, sabi nga nila mamamatay na yun. Masyado na kasi nag-intermarriage. Dominant kasi yung ibang malalaki.
Any other question po?
Yes?
Hi ma'am, naalala ko yung nabanggit nyo kanina about protecting their interests.
Yes.
Kasi di ba napakarami ng medicinal plants
Yes.
and other stuff na pwedeng i-develop into medicines
Medicine.
kahit na hindi pang international for local use. Is there a group na actively tumutulong sa mga indigenous people or locals na i-protect yung mga halaman nila from like other countries or companies na gusto mag-patent ng mga...
Nasa MOA, yan, na kailangan kakaroon sila ng rights anytime na gamitin yung data namin. Because lalo na if they think that the plant is endemic or indigenous. So what's an endemic and indigenous plant? Pag sabi mo endemic, nahanap lang yan sa Pilipinas. Pag sinabi mong indigenous, nahanap lang yan sa lugar na ito sa Pilipinas. Which make it really, meron tayong mga halaman na gano'n. May case ako, isang halaman, siguro kilala nyo ito, it's not a halaman, it's a mushroom. They call it red reishi. It's with my parapal groups of iwak. Nasabi nila, kailangan mo nakukuha lang daw itong mushroom na to, every October to November pag umuulan, kasi mushroom. Tapos kailangan mo umakit ng 7 bundok, at saka sa paa ng namamatay na mahogany, doon lang siya tumutubo. Can you imagine that? They have to describe that very well and you have to acknowledge that. And itong red reishi na to, it can cure any plant. It's a miracle. It is matter. So ginagamit siya sa cancer, sa diabetes. And sabi ko, so ang dilemma nun, isusulat ko ba to o hindi? So natuwa ako, hindi siya halaman. Mushroom siya. Fungus siya. So, hindi siya kasama. So, sabi nila, ma'am, alam mo ba yung mga ibang ETA, pinupuntahan ng mga insect, pinakukuha po ng ganyan, tapos binibigyan lang ng pagkain. So, sabi naman ng aking RA na insect, ma'am, totoo po yan. Bibili na po ito. So, doon pala makikita mo na yung exploitation. So, sa Earth Philippines, meron tayong grupong gano'n. We want to come up with a royalty system. That any studies like this, there should be a royalty system para mabalik sa community. Kasi sila rin na magtatanim. Makikinabos sila. So, we call it the royalty system. So, ito yung isa sa mga dinidevelop namin sa Great Philippines. Part ito ng NRCP. Tuloy tayo. So, meron. Kung magalang, magkakagalang. Ganun pa po kayo. Yes, ma'am.
Yung pitak po is parang focus sila sa traditional and alternative medicine.
Yes.
Are they closely parang working with the NICP for, kasi I think my question is towards parang kailan nagkakaroon ng line na parang diba, pitak plus researches or gives grants para sa ethomedicine and then saan siya nagkakaroon ng decision na mag-tutor na siya to drug determination, mag-tutor na siya to
Ang problema kasi sa NCIP, we call it the dysfunctional bureaucracy. And that is acknowledged by the entire Philippines and who do indigenous study. It's very, very sad. So ngayon, binobombard ang NCIP, nagbaguhin nyo yan. Kasi wala nang gustong gumawa ng indigenous. Nakapunta na po ako sa mga research forum. na umiiyak ang mga indigenous researcher. Kasi parang, magkano ba yan? Bayaran na namin. Huwag nyo na kami pahirapan kung kailangan lang ng pera. Pero para sa amin, okay lang sana kung yung money pupunta sa indigenous. Hindi, dadaan ko na siya sa government. Sa government eh. Kasi sabi namin, talaga dysfunctional. And you know what we realized? What I realized? I was in New Zealand, they have the same problem. It's a recurring problem. We have, sabi nila, we love your term, dysfunctional. We were talking about it the entire night, sabi ko. Yun lang naalala niya sa study ko. Pero kasi pala, it's really a perennial problem. And it is something they have to do. But be reminded that the IPRA law that protected the indigenous is one of the earliest law na ginawa for indigenous people all over and over. Kaya
may dispute pa rin sa
ito,
sa
1997
Malabon
law natin.
Kasi
Kaya sa kaya dysfunctional ng iba, yun ang ginawa nilang model.
political ano.
Kaya, it makes sense. There's a history. Any other question?
Dami na, kasi-chismisan lang ko na. Sorry. Sorry po. Meron pa po bang last question for Ms. Carol? Wala na po. Are we still okay? Yes? Mamaya po, magkakamalupit tayong picturean sa baba. Okay? And I want you to be fresh and good looking kasi ilalapat to ng USC sa lahat ng pwede niyang lapatan, mga print, kasi obsessed kami sa ganon. So, yung malaki nating tarpaulin, meron na rin sa baba. So, we will have more like a class picture later. We're just waiting for our rockstar member of our unit. Rockstar siya kasi siya lang naman yung dating PMA president, si Dr. Kalipag. And ang kanyang publication ay umaabot ng matanda pa sa akin, mga ganon. 300 level na yung kanyang publication. So we're waiting for her. She'll be teaching you today about cancer and how to study cancer in multiple disciplinary approach. So I think by 2 p.m. or so, am I right? Just really had too many logistical concerns today. But, so we thank Ma'am Carol for the talk. At this point, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Next speaker is Bertie Salva. He is the general manager and co-founder of Curiosity, a design research consultancy that provides local insight through ethnographic approaches to help organizations design new products and services. In the past 6 years, Bertie has been involved in over 100 research projects for companies like Ayala Healthcare Corporation, Globe Telecom, Sun Life Financial, the Fred Hollows Foundation, and the National Anti-Poverty Commission. Prior to starting Curiosity, Bertie was a user researcher at the industrial design startup Innovent, a brand manager in L'Oreal Philippines. So let's have our hands exercise and welcome Bertie. Good afternoon, Pablo.
Okay, so thank you everyone for having me over. I think it's been more than 10 years since I last stepped into the campus.
So you've been here.
I attended an industrial design talk way back then. So it's nice to meet you. So, I guess you're all doctors, pharmacists, and you're all the healthcare field. I'm not. You know way more about this than I do. So what I would like to share with you today is how we help medical institutions or let's say organizations when they are designing in the healthcare field. So what we do in Curiosity, we're basically a design research agency, and we basically is qualitative research. I believe maybe yesterday you had your session on qualitative research. So I'll be touching very quickly upon that now to show you how we do things. And we mainly use that and ethnography as our main tool and lens for when we try to test quality services. So depending on the project that we need to work on, we just basically get from whichever technique that we need to do. So either individual interviews, observations, immersions, and focus groups, user testing for prototype, shadowing them for a whole day. We just choose whichever is most. So very quickly, why do we use ethnography? And I guess it's one of those things that what we've been learning through the years conducting this is that just simply doing the interviews, it's not enough. People can say one thing, but they'll do something else. And it's very, very different from what people think na parang this is what I want to do, this is how I believe I will do things, this is how I believe I will behave given the situation. Pero iba eh, once that they're in the situation, they will behave differently. So we do think na parang by immersing with them, getting them, seeing them as they interact with the product of the services, you'll really learn more. So when we do ethnographic research, again, what we want is something, a very holistic perspective. We believe na whenever, okay. So we believe rin na, when we're testing mga products and services of our clients, it's not simply that we present it to them once and they give their feedback and that's it, that's the end of things. We know that when they get to try something, there's a lot of many variables that go into play that determines on why they will behave certain ways. So for example, let's say si Ayala, they once asked us that, okay, market research namin shows that people says healthcare is very, very important. However, the same research shows that titiisin nila hindi sila pupunta sa doktor. So bakit? Yun yung gusto nila malaman. And then they had an idea parang what if we create yung family, what is now known as family doc, parang what if we create a primary care chain clinic na mura, not as complete as a hospital, but hopefully better than the free barangay health center. So they're wondering, pero will people pay for that? Will people go to, what value would it add given na kung libre nga yung isa? So those were the things that they want to find out. And again, kung ginawa lang nating mura, whatever mura is, pupunta pa yung mga tao, or ganyan pa rin, titisin nila, magtitipid pa sa budget, mag-self-medicate pa rin sila. Okay. So just to give some examples now on why we do, why we believe that doing ethnography is one of the more effective tools in testing new ideas and new services, especially something that's very unknown. I give some examples now. So this was somewhere in Africa. The problem here was that walang water. So some quote-unquote innovators from the US thought like, what if we put this playground like a merry-go-round for them, and if kids play in this merry-go-round, it will pump water into the tank at the back. And what if we get natin mga ads and billboards, so kahit kumita for the village. So lots of money poured into this project, lots of PR, press and photography and awards, but it failed. Super failed. It did not perform it did not create the impact that it wanted. Any guesses why? Many reasons, but can anyone guess? Take a guess.
Guess?
Yes.
Maybe because they live far away from that place, so they had problems with transporting the water.
No. So one thing was this relies on the kids playing on this to pump water. How long will a kid play in a merry-go-round? So sandali lang. Like when the media is there, nice photo. When the media is not there, this is the reality. So it's really the parents na sila mag-igib sa ikot. So that's one thing. But the second thing is really that this was a foreign technology for them, so nobody really knew how to repair it. The moment it breaks down, it will break down. They don't have parts, they don't have the local expertise to fix it. So usability is one thing, but the other parts of the ecosystem, in terms of repairability and stuff, comes into play. The other thing here is this one. I got this example from Kickstarter. So some engineers from the US thought that what if we create a soccer ball, add some motion generating battery inside, so that when the kids are playing with it, it can generate and store electricity, and in the evening, meron silang kuryente. So again, nice idea, but gets funded, press awards and stuff. Pero again, total flop because soccer ball yun eh. So konting sipa-sipa lang sila na yun. So ang bilis nasira, and then when the mothers were asking how much, so once it's broken, no one can fix it. So when they asked how much is this ball, and they say it's around $60 for the ball, and the mothers were saying for $60, pakapit na ng kuryente. Just give me the money na lang sana. So. And again, so if you focus simply on one aspect of a design, like either the usability, the aesthetic, the coolness of it, there's a lot of other things that comes into play in terms of ensuring that will your design work. So again, you probably more familiar with this one. So when we were doing the research for Ayala, when we were we started visiting various health centers just to stay there and be with the people, and they were telling us their stories na minsan 5 a.m. pa lang pipila na sila to get a number kasi like limited in doctors for the day. So they line up at 5 a.m., get a number, and maybe at 8 or 9 when the doctor comes, then they'll have to wait for their turn. And And of course, the doctor would tell us that parang, again, there's a lot of people for the day, so I can only allocate, certain amount of minutes per person. So kailangan nilang mabilisan. And then, magpapa-lab test pa, babalik on Wednesday, the whole process. So even though it's free, there's really a lot of pain points, and there's opportunity for things to improve. It's a process. Now, when we do user research, what we're also looking at is in what ways are people interacting with the things changing over time. The human need remains the same, but the circumstances keep changing. And for us, that's why we're always, that's why a lot of companies will hire us, because they always want to find out in what ways are the behaviors changing. So for example, when you're using telephones back then, ano yung mga conditions, diba? Kailangan you must remember the number, you must have some private room, you're connected to the wall, you can't take it anywhere. But now with your new phone, there's a lot more freedom. You can do, calling is so much different than now. And whenever you're trying to understand, okay, will people use something? Will this new idea work? It always helps to go back to the past and try to find out ano ba yung difference ng dati at ngayon. Because a lot of times, if there are ideas, it's based on a certain set of assumptions, and again, those assumptions might change. For example, like the Me Too movement is very, very new right now. So kung anything moving forward in terms of movies, TVs, ad campaigns, it takes this new social trend into consideration. So like that example, yesterday customers might want gas lamps that would not set their house on fires. They want cheap meat, somewhere to get their films developed. Today, they want Instagram likes. You want environmental friendly houses, organic salads, etc. So again, you might have covered this in your session yesterday, but for us, ethnography is not simply just conducting interviews. You must combine the interviews with observation, immersing with them. Go into their context, finding out how they earn. How do they make decisions? Who are the stakeholders? What are all the considerations in terms of values? Ano yung mga moral codes nila? Ano yung mga diskarte nila in terms of getting by with life? So all of those things. It's also not simply just asking one key informant, not just asking the boss, the barangay head, the mayor, to give a perspective of everyone. We also make sure na parang top-down and bottom-up yung perspective para kompleto. Well, this is one of our studies back then. We were conducting a research in Batangas. It was a rapidly industrializing town sa Santo Tomas because of an industrial park. The industrial park there was rapidly changing the locality. All the farms were now being converted into new factories. All the small houses were now being demolished to become condos. And it's great that everyone felt that there was so much more money. People were saying, "But I now have money, I now have income. There's less crime in the area because there's money." However, it just created a new set of problems. Sobrang traffic, sobrang pollution. Dati, meron kami mga composting practices dito. May wala na puro basura ng sahig. Ang dami ng ng mga mosquitoes and other problems. Philip Morris factory there, hinihika ng mga bata. So with every new, if you think about it, systems, every new variable that goes in will create unexpected and undesired results. And that's the sad thing. And no matter what kind of solution that you introduce, it will create some kind of unexpected and maybe undesired behaviors. So this is why I guess if ever you'll be researching, this is one of those things that we always have to keep an eye out for. Ano yung mga unexpected things. So when we conduct our studies, again, interviews and observations, almost always hand in hand. Never kami parang just one thing lang. And yeah, fast forward. Okay. So people always ask us though, parang qualitative research niyo, what about the quant side of things? So we're not saying that parang quant, you don't do quant, so quant has its place. And whenever when you're doing quantitative, kasi it's more than just a question of what are you trying to answer. If you're trying to answer what does the majority think, then use quant. But in our case, whenever we're trying to explore, if you're going to introduce something new, a new policy, a new service, a new experience, a new program, then there's a lot of unknown things. Like you don't know how this will change the dynamics of things, how it will change the behaviors, and that's where qualitative can come in. And I guess the problem with quantitative is that you can measure everything. But the question is, how do you know which one really matters? And I believe that's where qualitative studies can be helpful to narrow down what is it that's the most important thing to measure. So almost always, especially with regards to healthcare, systemic mga challenges namin. So how do we help make sure that people are maintaining their TB make sure that doctors are reporting mga TB cases, make sure people maintain yung mga TB na treatments. How do you help a lot of people sa mga cataract surgeries nila to go to operations? So in this case, on our end, what we're trying to find out first, okay, let's categorize it. Is it a clock problem or a cloud problem? So for us, clock problems are those na parang, ano lang yan, technology lang yan. You just need some time, maybe some money, some technology, and you can solve the problem. But for cloud problems, that's where, again, it's a bit more multifaceted. You need to attack this problem in many, many different points. It might take a lot of time, and it's like traffic or garbage pollution. You can't solve it now. It just needs a lot of time and a lot of effort. But at least on our end, we have to make sure first, what are we looking at? And then for that one, we're always trying to make sure that we try to find new patterns behind it. So one of the frameworks that we use is the iceberg model. So some of you might be familiar with this one. Iceberg model is basically saying that you look at the events, the trends, the structures, and the mental models to be able to describe a certain system. Okay, after picture. So events is basically what you see. So nagkasunog, like an earthquake, may building na nasira. You're looking at parang what is usually reported in the news. Oh, there's a malaria outbreak. X number of people now have HIV. All of these things are the events. And chances are, like when events happen, you do have to react to it. Wala tubig, then suddenly parang, mayroon bagong system to provide water for the areas that are affected without water. But you cannot stop at the events level. Usually it's mga knee-jerk reaction at yung mga band-aid solutions lang na it doesn't really address the long-term thing. So the next thing after events is that, okay, now you have to look for patterns. Does this keep happening over a period of time? Over time, dumadami ba? Over time, lumiliit? Over time, parang does this keep recurring maybe every monsoon season or tag-init natin, repeat ito mga certain things na to. So by knowing the patterns, then basically you're more able to ensure that it's not just a one-time thing. Once you have the patterns though, then you have to look for, okay, what if the pattern continually occurs, and if ever over a period of time that it keeps growing, then almost always there's an underlying structure that's enabling it. So this would be the rules, the processes, the programs, and yung mga reward systems. What are the things that is ensured that the pattern happens? And almost always, structures are made by the people in power. Someone made the rules. It's an uneven scheme. Someone said na parang gawin natin itong rules. Ito, ergo, the pattern is ito yung mga nangyaring traffic behaviors. But underlying the structures now would be the mental models. What is the rationale? What are the beliefs that made those people in power to decide that this would be the rules? So just to give some example, I recently came from La Union. We were doing a study for the weaving industry. So basically some groups wanted to find out why is it that the young do not want to take up weaving. A lot of the artisan weavers right now, mga 60 years old na, ang average age. That's the average. So oldest mga 80s, and they're saying that in 10 to 20 years, if nothing changes, that's it. There will be no more artisan weavers. All the young ones that we got to talk to said that I don't want to get into weaving. I want to become policeman, teacher, fireman, engineer, call center, other things. So we were trying to find out what's driving this. And when you start talking to the parents would actually tell us na kung yung anak ko magaling mag-aral siya, mag-STEM courses siya. Pero kung hindi siya marunong mag-aral, or wala siyang plano mag-aral, nabuntis at sa bahay lang, then doon to mag-hobby. So doon pala, you can already see the influence of the parents to the kids with regards to their choice of career. Even if the parents are weavers themselves, they might want yes, this is my practice, this is my family, our clan's practice for the longest time. Hindi tayo kikita dito. And if ever kung kaya ko ng anak ko masaya sa buhay, then papaaral ko siya at pumunta siya sa Manila, mag-ibang trabaho para kumita tayo. Because there's really not enough money in the current practice. A lot of those things again lead to the structures. Like the structures would be ano ba yung mga pinapractice in schools. There is no course to teach weaving, but you have food processing, you have lawyer, nursing, but all the other things. So just to quickly summarize iceberg model is that even if you, example, let's say there's a factory. You tear down the factory, but if all the rationale that made that factory exist in the first place still exist, then a new factory will be rebuilt. Unless you address those underlying structures and unless you address yung mga underlying behaviors, just the system will persist. You can remove individual elements, but if the rationale exists, it will still maintain. So if you're trying to solve, example, let's say systemic healthcare problems, simply touching on like on the surface level interventions really won't change enough. So I want to share this. It's called the law of minimum, and it's something that we always believe in Curiosity. Is that you always have to make sure, like, if you're going to change something, you have to make sure, like, what are all the variables and what are all the minimum of every single variable. You might have a kid, and no matter how much money you place into your scholarship niya, no matter how much internet you give to the kid to study, but if you don't have enough food to eat, you won't have energy, you won't study. You can have, like, a developing country, toss in as much money as you can into that system, but again, if the political system is not in place to ensure that there's no graft corruption, then it's not going to go anywhere. So whenever we're trying to solve, especially for healthcare, we try to find out what are all the possible variables that has to come into play. You want to encourage a kid to go into STEM courses. Let's find out parang ano ba yung expectations nila in terms of income and availability in terms of jobs afterwards. Ano ba yung access nila to the school that has the course that they might want. And yung influence ng parents nila to the decision of kids. Can the kids imagine what, or do they even understand ano yung topic na to? Ano yung feeling nila sa peer pressures of mga fellow students nila if they do decide to go do something. There's almost always so many variables to consider. Which is why, again, it's almost always so difficult to solve mga systemic problems. So with that, I'll show you one example of a project that we did na healthcare related, specifically maternal health. So this was a startup. The startup na tinulungan namin, they said na parang they wanted to create a system where people, like especially the lower income segment, mga DE level, they can subscribe to this SMS-based service. It will connect them to a nurse, mga nurse na either volunteers or paid. And then you can text anytime and you will get the response, parang like responses to any of your questions. So parang live chat support. But they wanted to know, number one, would people want to use this? Gagamitin ba nila? Number two, would the nurses want to use this? And number three, who would pay for it? Kasi parang like, what kind of business model do we do? Do we charge the parents? Or do we charge the government? Do we charge corporations? They just want to find out. So when we designed this project, first we have to identify muna what are the things that we wanted to answer. So again, so these were like some of the research questions. How do first-time pregnant and first-time mothers assess the relevance and usability of the service? Will they adopt it? What are the use cases of it? What are the content that people would actually want to use it for? If ever, how might the government work in conjunction with this service? And what are the other key insights that we can do to make it into a sustainable startup? So ang style namin dito was first we selected the mothers. We gave them the phone. Actually they had phones. So we had to make sure they had their own phones. And we just observed lang as they tried to register. We gave them a set of instructions na parang, okay, you have 1 week. Yeah, you have 1 week, and then you must use the service X number of times. And then babalikan ka namin after a week to see kung kamusta ang experience niyo with it. So we selected 20 participants for this one. And again, like you see with qualitative, you don't need too many. You don't need like 100. We selected 20. Half of them, mixed C2DE, 18 to 29, taga-Marikina, and so on and so forth. So we had 11 na first-time pregnant and 9 na first-time mothers. And I'll just quickly go through some of the findings as we went through. So first was even the registration process. Again, ito lang observation. So parang bigyan namin sa kanila, live naman, automatic naman yung system. Na parang as they type in the code na parang register, whatever, then we just observe lang and then just try to ask kung ano ba yung naiintindihan nila and stuff. Sometimes kasi parang for the creators of the app, they're engineers, they're coders, they're techies. And usually yung mga gusto namin malaman, like, are the language that you're using ba, yan ba yung naiintindihan ng mga tao? And ito rin mga some of the responses that they have. Parang text lang ba ito? Nakikita ba na, may nakita ba kung nagtatanong ako? Lalo kung tinatanong ko medyo nakakahiya. May group chat ba ito? Or sino yung mga kausap ko? So these are like some important things naman na at least to get first impressions. Now, if, ito yung mga more consistent ones na ulit-ulit na sasabi. So overall, registration, wala nang problema. May mga tanong lang, example, parang you must have 1 pesos maintaining balance to use. They were all saying, ano to, what does that mean? You clarify for them. Yung welcome message, sobrang haba. It was like chopped into 3 separate messages. And also, they weren't using smartphones. Puro feature phone lang. Okay. And so parang ganyan, like they would receive the message in 3 separate chunks and they would say, ang haba-haba niyan. Like after reading the 1 out of 3, they stop reading. And when they stop reading, then they miss out on the instructions on the subsequent ones. They were also, upon subscribing, it will ask you certain questions. So ito yung mga things that they were actually very willing to share sa simula na. So first name, age, number of months pregnant, or maybe the age of the baby. These are information that they're very willing to share. Pero yung mga ayaw nila, address and personal experience. Now the thing is, ito pala, yung nagiging barrier na kasi simula pala hinihingi na agad eh. But for them, this was a bit too much. Na I'm not willing to reciprocate on what you're asking from me. It's a bit too invasive na di pa kita tiwala. So things that we wanted to find out, again, beyond just simply giving the app, we just simply talk to them para find out. So, kumusta na nga ba? Kung sakaling may mga tanong kayo, sino pipuntahan ninyo. So, they do share with us their stories na parang either sa mga kamag-anak, sa ate, sa nanay, kung sino yung mga kausap nila, or maybe Google. And also, parang ano yung priorities, sino yung top priorities for their information. So first, we mapped out muna ano yung behavior nila before parent up. Like if they do need to find information, then when do they go to the doctor? When do they go to yung mga family and friends? So just to map out muna. So kung light questions, sa nanay, sa tita, sa older ate, pero anything serious, then kailangan doctor agad. The problem though sa doctor is that usually either malayong doctor, hindi ko ma-reach, busy siya, kailangan pumili na matagal. I feel mo yung tanong mo sobrang late lang naman, na it's not worth all the effort to commute and to wait just for that one question. Then with the app, they started using it, and after that, we go back to them to get yung mga answers nila. And in general, they were telling us about, okay, ito yung bagong behavior nila with parent up. If they do have still very simple questions lang, then they still go to the most immediate ones, the women in their lives nearby. Pero the moment that they do have a difficult question, they're very happy. Now I can access directly a health consultant. We tell them it's a health consultant, but in reality, nurse is on the other side. They don't know that. And so now they start asking the questions. And again, even the nurses naman will tell them that the moment na medyo serious na yan, then go to the doctor. Yeah, so these sorts of, again, parang just a list lang of mga things that they were generally asking. So, mga home remedies, mga common concerns such as side effect ng birth control pills, and tanong sila about that. And especially mga parang other pregnancy symptoms. Again, this is just basically a list of mga information that they generally would ask. And for us, it was important to get these things because at least we would know that if we were to get more nurses or more whoever will be providing the content, then we had to make sure na kaya nila sagutin ito mga to. If ever they would be creating standardized answers, then at least ito yung mga, they should quite know or expect na ito yung mga to. So postpartum, infancy, etc. There was some that were telling us na parang minsan nahihiya sila. Even though we told them, walang bayad to, you can text anytime, kahit na gabi, kahit na midnight, you can text, may sasagot niyan. They would sometimes feel na parang nakakahiya, lalo kung masyadong mababaw daw yung tanong nila, masyadong trivial. Kasi they feel na parang may tao dito, hindi ako sayang yung oras niyo. Or sometimes they feel like it's too embarrassing because they know my name, they know my address, they know my name, they know my number, and baka di nila alam kung who else would have access to information. What if kumahan? Mga demonstrations, so example, parang paano ko papag-birth yung baby ko. So this was also, they found it a bit challenging to explain over text. So ito yung mga, of course, they would, if ever, they'd still go to a person to demonstrate for me. So minsan na daw, they would say na parang, even though I received advice through Parent Up, they still did not follow. And they would share us na parang bakit. So for example, either na parang sabi, punta ka sa doctor, and for them, masyado hassle pa rin, mahal, wala akong oras, and so on and so forth. Or iba, parang like herbal medicine. Eh, tiwala ko to eh, parang gumagana naman para sa amin. Even though sinabi sa inyo na stop taking that, do something else, they still tend to follow what they normally say. And then here, we do ask again, parang with regards to going to the healthcare centers, what's your experience, and mga challenges ninyo, how much does it cost you? And other tips that they wanted to ask, at least or other more information that they wanted to receive. Because if ever they would be, we ask kasi parang kung sakaling parent app were to blast you lang, it will just send you random tips on a regular, maybe on a weekly basis, what would you want to receive? So ito yung mga content. How frequent did you use it? So ito yung mga concerns nila, and they were telling us na kung paano ko gawin ito kung wala akong load, paano ko yung phone ko hiniram ng tatay, kasi minsan one phone lang shared by the family, paano kung full na yung memory ng phone, and so on. In our study, then we were trying to map out like when were they more parang sending the message most often. But on the other hand, we were also monitoring some nurses. When are the nurses responding? Because the nurses are also working, so sometimes the response is not immediate. Minsan, let's say 4 hours later or 5 hours later, available the nurse. And even the nurses, for the prototype, we had 20 nanays, pero we had 2 nurses lang nila. So dinivide namin, 10 for you, 10 for you. So minsan din daw sila na-feel na overwhelmed, tuloy-tuloy sabay-sabay yan, and then they had to switch from one message to the next. For the nurses, smartphone sila, so at least mas kaya na i-control yung threads. So we just clock in the response time. Again, in general, all the parents were telling us na sana mas mabilis. Kung 4 hours, 5 hours later pa yung reply, then I'd rather just talk to someone, at least mas immediate, if I need information. Okay. So, and then, I won't go through in detail, but ito, generally, after the whole study, ito yung mga assessment nila, what they think about it, how would they describe parent up if ever as a person? How do they feel warm? Do they feel na they can trust it? Do they feel estranged to it? What do they think about the name? How do they rate yung quality of the responses? Response time? What do they like and dislike about it? And then we talk to the nurses. So the nurses, at least they give us their feedback. Parang, how was it like responding to all of those questions any time of the day? So at least they would also tell us, parang sana may dashboard, sana kaya kong i-note ito. Ang hirap minsan for me to go back, to back-read as many things as possible. Sana kailangan na-notify ako, hindi ako kailangan mag-log on para yung feedback. And then next is, parang we also wanted to check, so who would pay for it? We did, during the post-evaluation, we did talk to the parents, parang, do you want pay-per-use, do you want monthly fee, or do you want subscription fee? So parang which one, and every single one naman may pros and cons. So kanya-kanyang sabi sila kung which one do you want to. And then next,